What's popping, party people? It's me, back again. And today, I want to talk about the Yuri Factory. If you don't know, this is Yuri, right? This is a book that's Yuri, and basically it's got girls kissing in it. And I've been thinking, they need to make a Yuri Factory. So here's how it's gonna go down. They're gonna make a Yuri. I'm gonna petition to the government. I'm gonna put in a petition. I'm gonna say, hey, can we make a Yuri Factory, please? You know, just so that I could work, obviously, in the Yuri Factory, because where else would I ever want to work? And it's like, okay, well, you want to work in a Yuri Factory? That's fine. That's fine. Here's the Yuri Factory, and they're gonna, you know, hand me the keys the minute they make the Yuri Factory. And you may be wondering, why would they hand me the keys? All I did was make a petition. Well, I made a petition for a government grant so that I could make the Yuri Factory, because I know full well the Yuri Factory is going to pay back that grant instantly and, you know, make the country a bunch more money. So they're going to want to give me a Yuri Factory. So they give me a Yuri Factory and I go, okay, thank you, Mr. Government, Yuri Factory time. And so what I do is I'd be, you know, working the supply lines at first. I have to work my way up to the top of the company because I'd be the only employee to begin with. So I'd work the supply lines until I can hire someone else, and you know, like a Roblox tycoon, right? And eventually we get to the end of this and I'm the manager of the Yuri Factory. And they go, you know, so someone comes around and they say, what does the Yuri Factory even make? Duh, Yuri. But they might be like, well, what, so you sell books? No. We don't sell books. We sell the concept of Yuri, right? So it would basically be like a woman. We'd make one woman on one supply line and we'd make another woman on another supply line. And then at the end, the two supply lines would come together and then they'd run sort of parallel for a bit and then they'd go like that. Because a lot of the time, you know, you have that bit where you go like that. And then they'd come around and they'd be even closer and they'd cross. They'd cross, and then after they've crossed, they'd then like become one supply line, right? And if they're one supply line, that means that's Yuri. That's two women in a relationship. So I'm thinking, okay, we've got the Yuri supply line. That's really important to the Yuri Factory. But also, we'd probably want a Yuri gift shop in the Yuri Factory, right? Because you'd want to sell Yuri, as in books. But also, what about the product itself of the Yuri Factory? Well, if you think about it, the product itself is putting lesbians into relationships with other lesbians, which I think a lot of women would want, because most lesbians that I know are kind of hopeless and losers. So we'd obviously have to put them together. And I'm sure they'd really enjoy that. I'm not sure what I mean by that, but I'm sure they'd really, you know, appreciate this product of being put together in a relationship, because that's what they've been asking for this whole time. They've been going, oh, woe is me, I want a woman. And I'll be like, well, here you go, have a woman, right? So in honor of Pride Month, I'd be like, okay, Yuri Factory, rather than a sort of Yaori Factory, right, which is for men and women. And I think that would be a good concept. So as the manager of this Yuri Factory, I would have sort of ultimate control over the Yuri Factory, which would mean I could make as much Yuri as I wanted. And I would be sitting up there on the like deck. Imagine this is like big factory and I'm on the deck. I'm sat on like the deck staring down at the conveyor belts and I'm going, is this enough Yuri? Of course, you can never have enough Yuri. So it's not going to be enough Yuri. So I'm going to be, you know, sort of uncontent in this job, and I'm going to have to sort of go on a little sort of arc. I'm going to have to go on an arc within the job where I go, you know, there's just not enough Yuri. So I'm going to go to France. And you might be wondering, why would you go to France, of all places? And I'm like, well, I'm going to go to France so that I can meet a French woman and we can sort of elope. And then I can figure out whether or not Yuri is really the correct thing to be doing with my life. Of course, from this, I might get a bit confused because this woman was French. So I'll have to go somewhere else, probably Germany, or maybe I'd go to Kenya or maybe I'd go to Brazil. I don't know. I'd go somewhere else after France, and I'd do the same thing again. And then eventually I'd realize, yeah, Yuri is the answer actually. And I'd go back to the Yuri Factory and I'd take up my mantle again as the manager of the Yuri Factory. And I think ultimately this would be a great endeavor because it's like a social project, right? If you think about it, if you think about something like the NHS, which is the National Health Service in the UK, this would be like the NYS, the National Yuri Service, and it would just put women together into relationships, and I think that would be great. And I think that a lot of people would like this service, and I think that if I were to be able to do that, everyone would look at me differently, and they'd go, that's a girl who knows what she's talking about, you know? Especially whenever I sort of open my mouth, people would sort of get down on their knees and pray to me like a god, like the god that I am. Because let's be real, if you saw the last video, god that I am, you know, I stole the monk blade. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm thinking that eventually a devout group of Yuri Lowenthals would probably come up to me and say, this kind of, you know, breaks our terms in service. It's not natural. It's not natural to put them on conveyor belts and have them, you know, morph into one big Power Ranger. What are you doing? And to that I would say, well, Yuri Lowenthal Society, I'm one of you all along. And I'd rip off my mask and I would be part of Yuri Lowenthal Society. And they would go, what? I didn't know you liked Persona 4. And I'd be like, well, I'm hit or miss on Persona 4, really. And they'd go, huh? And I'd go, but I do think the remake's going to be bad. And they're going to go, one of us. And they're going to support me and accept me. And in fact, a lot of them probably would be lesbians to begin with. So they would all get on the conveyor belt and become a part of the big Power Ranger. Because I'm sort of thinking, imagine Power Rangers, you know, like Mighty Morphin. You get this big suit of like armor, or it's not really armor, it's like a bunch of different mechs, right? And they all come together. But if you think about it like that, and you think about that, and you think like, okay, what if all of the people in the mechs were women, and what if those women were all in relationships? I'm just saying that would make for killer reality TV, right? If you think about it, like, we would put a camera in every single mech, and we'd have like a bunch of cameras and stuff in the mech base, and it would be like a Big Brother house or like a Love Island, right? With all of these lesbians, where when they're off work, there's some shit going down. There's going to be some shit going down. You're going to have some love triangles, some love hexagons, right? There's going to be a whole bunch of shit going on. But when they're on duty, they've all got to like cooperate with each other to pilot this massive mech. Like, that sounds great, because then you're going to think about all of the sort of drama that would come through from the love triangle stuff, from the love hexagons, into the mech piloting, where now, how are you going to pilot the mech if your ex-girlfriend is in the cockpit next to you and your current, you know, like, situationship is below you, and the girl who your ex cheated on you with is in the one to your left? That's crazy drama, and I think it would do really well on ITV. So really, I think that's part of why the Yuri Factory should exist, because that would be a good idea. And I think that is probably what would happen, and then I would monetize it on telly, and people would watch it, and they'd go, oh my god, you know, I'd get sponsorships and stuff to like keep making more Yuri, and then the government doesn't have to subsidize it anymore, and then eventually it sort of pays for itself, and I pay back the loans from the government, and there you go. I now have a Yuri Factory, and I now have some amazing quality television. And I think, quite frankly, that's exactly what everyone wants. So if you want to back the Yuri Factory, then comment, I guess. Comment. Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Good night.